you, wherever and whenever you are joining us. Welcome to our latest edition of What Caught My Eye, or WCME Sports. I am, as always, your host, the coach Nick Vesci. I'm joined by the boy, Stephen Vesci, and the man, Stephen Comlow.
Hello.
If you're new to our show, a couple things I like to say that we get out of it for you is that, one, you learn something new each time, and two, all right, if you want to think of this show as, thank you for that, because now I can think.
It's too sensual. It's too sensual of sex.
No, it's too loud.
Go for it.
Enjoy this sex in the morning, the
it.
afternoon, the evening. You can have sex anywhere, anytime.
Yeah. All right, well, what I was trying to say is, if you're new to our show, a couple things for you. One, if you learn something new from our show, we've done our job. And two, if you didn't know what was going on with our show, we like to think of it as 90s, 2000s Sports Center, but in kind of radio form, where we bring you the most eye-catching, noteworthy highlights, the things that should catch your eye, and that caught our eye from the past week. Bring it to you, give you some stats, give it to you in the form of a highlight, which, nowadays seems like that's not the trendy thing to do, but we want to, harken back to those halcyon days of good old Sports Center.
Vocab.
Oh, thank you. I dabble. Now, before we get into our top catch, just a reminder to follow us on all of our socials at WCME_sports. That's on Facebook, X, and Instagram. You can also visit us on our website at WCMEsports.com. And our new episodes drop every Wednesday at noon. Now, without further ado, get into it. Our top catch this week was the Detroit Lions. Yes, the Detroit Lions. And not for some horrible bad thing that happened, because that's what many of our generation has known from the Lions. No, these are not your father's Lions. These are not your dad's Lions. These are legit Lions with some roar and growl and grit. Grit was the operative term. That's like the defining thing that head coach Dan Campbell has preached to his team is grit, grit, grit. And if you were watching their game on Sunday night, you saw a whole hell of a lot of grit. It was an amazing game, and something you would have never seen from the Lions before Dan Campbell was there, straight up. So if you didn't see it, what happened is Detroit beat the Texans 26-23 in Houston. They improved their record to 8-1, which is the best in the NFC, and strengthened their lead on the NFC North. Detroit, in this game, this is what the remarkable thing I thought was, they became the first team since the Colts beat the Bears in 1970 to throw 5 or more interceptions in a game, be down 15 or more points in a game, and still find a way to win that game. What happened at halftime, they were down 23-7. They looked dead in the water. Jared Goff at that time, I think, had 4 picks going into halftime. One of them was on like a Hail Mary, so it's kind of like, oh, do we really count that? Well, yeah, it still does in your stats. But Detroit and Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, his defense did not allow a single point in the entire second half. And Jake Bates, the kicker who gained fame for the 64-yard field goal he hit for the Michigan Panthers in the UFL in the spring, he's now the Lions kicker, believe it or not, and he hit a walk-off 52-yarder to win the game for Detroit. I thought it was pretty amazing, pretty incredible, and again, something you would not have seen before Dan Campbell got there.
Yeah, did you hear his halftime interview with, I think, Melissa Starks?
Melissa Stark from
UVA?
From UVA, thank you.
I did not know that.
I make a point to avoid halftime interviews.
Well, they're like replaying the halftime interview as the first play is happening, and he's basically saying like, we've got to create turnovers. We need to get an interception here or there. We got to do something. Like, we're gonna get this back one play at a time. We can't get it back all at once. We got to create turnovers. Literally, as he's saying it, like as they're playing it, Stroud throws an interception. And Collinsworth was like, I think that's the first time that's ever happened. That was incredible. When Dan Campbell says something, it's like coming to fruition. Everything he's doing has some sort of like purpose. He's not just spouting nonsense out there.
Love Dan Campbell.
Yeah, he's as real and as authentic as you can get from a football person and just a human being in general. There's a lot of, this is how we're going to do things, and if you're not, we're not going to bring in people who won't fit that mold, right? So not so much of like dictatorial, my way or the highway. It's we're going to, like the Patriots of old, we're going to bring in guys who fit this mold. And if we find they don't fit, we're just not going to keep them. And we're going to keep finding the people that fit us. They may not be the fastest person. They may not be the strongest person, but they have that grit. They have the intangible. And that's something you would have never seen from a Lions team. I mean, God, when we were kids, like 3 or 4 straight years, they picked some crappy wide receiver in the first round of the draft. And
to be paired with Dan Orlovsky and
John Kitna and Charlie Batch. And,
John Kitna.
Oh,
yes,
God.
He was from Oregon, right?
Joey Harrington from
Joey
Oregon.
Harrington was Oregon. Where was Kitna from?
I'm not sure. I don't... You may be onto something. But, yeah.
Harrington is who I was thinking about. Kitna was on the Bengals.
Yes, he was. He was a good player, but, again, he rolled out there on the Lions. But yeah, you saw those things growing up, and it became a laughingstock, right? It was just comical what we saw.
Yeah, imagine the kids now, kids you teach in middle school. They've pretty much only known the Lions as good.
Yes.
The last of like actually watching and retaining football. They've only known them the last probably 3-4 years of like, wow, this team's really, really good.
Yeah, they never saw Dan Orlovsky run out the back of the end zone in a defeated season. All they know of Dan Orlovsky is the dude on whatever morning garbage show on the mothership, right? So it is kind of amazing to. Was my description inaccurate? I don't think so.
I thought it was actually a little light.
Yeah, but it is kind of amazing. I think that's. Not just the fact that this game was incredible to watch, because it didn't feel... When you see comebacks, right, you either have two forms, like a collapse or the team took it from them, right? This felt more that Detroit took it from Houston. It didn't... Like, obviously, Houston didn't play well in the second half. You can't blow a lead like that and not score a single point without, not playing great. But, yeah, they still... Yeah, they forced over 5 turnovers, right? They... had opportunities, Detroit came and took it from them. And it's that grit. You would have never seen it. A good defense in Detroit, when the hell has that ever happened? Right? Aaron Glenn, former Jet great is probably who you may remember him from, but Texans, I think he also played on cornerback. He's done a tremendous job with that defense. And this was also without their best defensive player, Aiden Hutchinson, who snapped his leg in two a few weeks ago. So... just incredibly impressive. Amazing.
Did they get anybody for the trade deadline to help? I think they got one person, right, to help with that pass rush?
I mean, NFL trades are a fickle thing because it's not just like
I know it's
other
very
sports where
different.
you just plug someone in. There's a whole playbook and terminology and jargon and a whole lot of different stuff that goes into football that is just different from all the other major sports. So trade deadline
you can really only trade for like a D end or maybe a
cornerback,
receiver, corner.
Yeah, you're not, and people aren't going to put their impactful guys on the trade block a lot of times unless they're completely out of it, right? And you're trying to get rid of someone for salary reasons. But yeah, I thought amazing. I thought it was worth mentioning as our top catch. I'm sure our Guatemalan delegation will be happy to hear that from us. Anything else from that game caught your eye, or from just the Lions and an organizational standpoint in general?
I mean, we know this the last 2 years that they're the real deal and they will be competing for a championship.
Yes.
Right? There's nothing less for them. It's Super Bowl or bust.
Agreed. They got to the NFC Championship game last year. I thought they had that game won.
They should have won that
game. They are, in my opinion, the best team in the NFC. I said it a few weeks ago. I'm sticking with it. They, maybe they won't make it to the Super Bowl because a lot of weird things can happen in football playoffs since it is a one-and-done format.
Yeah, you also you got to keep some of these guys healthy too,
yes.
Right? You already lost Hutchinson, so you got to keep some of these guys healthy. Like, it's football. Anything can happen.
Yes.
The last, what do you got, another 8 games left or something?
Yeah, but they are the best team in the NFC, record-wise and just opinion-wise, from top to bottom. Coaching all the way down to their last player on their roster, I think they're the best team in that conference.
I think on the flip side of this, like Houston, I think there's an issue with scoring in the second half. I think they've had multiple games now where they haven't scored in the second half of games. So that seems to be a problem.
So what?
You're 6-4. It's not no need to panic or anything, but That is
in a weak division, in a very, very weak division. Yeah, what that tells me is that they do a tremendous job game planning their opponent, but not as good a job making halftime adjustments.
Right. And what we've heard from like Aaron Rodgers or Belichick and like a couple of these guys that go on, the bigger shows, they've basically said there are no halftime adjustments. You just execute better. You fix what, like, execution wise. Like, you're not going, oh, we need to do this, we need to change this, we got to change that. Like, a lot of times you just go out there and execute your game plan better.
Mm-hmm.
So it might just be that they're executing at such a high level to start the game, and then the other team just catches up and something's missing.
Yeah, or like they have things scripted,
right?
Like their first few drives scripted, and that again that goes back to preparation. You don't script that well without incredible preparation,
right?
But you're right. Then maybe the other team just comes out and out executes them on these certain things, or they do make an adjustment or two in terms of like their play calling, and Houston is slower to adapt or pick that up. But yeah, that could be something to look for because you can't do that in the playoffs, right? These are two playoff teams that we were watching. You do that stuff in the playoffs, you're out. You're done. You got to play 4 full quarters. You can't play these two halves. Thank you. You can't play just one half and think that you're going to come out victorious. Moving on to the NFL and the other rest of the league, there were some good things elsewhere. Going to move to Washington, right? In Washington, they were playing the Steelers. Russell Wilson from
Wisconsin and NC State.
Thank you.
Richmond.
Almost UVA.
Collegiate, yep. Russell Wilson completed a 32-yard touchdown pass to Mike Williams with a little over 2 minutes left, and that proved to be the game-winning score as Pittsburgh went on to beat Washington 28-27. It was a really good game, back and forth. It felt like a playoff game. It felt like you were watching two legitimately good teams.
Yes.
And amazing that they were able to seal the win when they got that guy to jump off sides on the hard count on like 4th and 1, and you got the nose tackle to jump. Pretty remarkable. But I think at the end of the day, believe it or not, I think Washington is better off for the result of this game than Pittsburgh is.
Get humbled a little bit.
Even not just a humble, just like if you think about it, right? You just competed against a Hall of Fame coach, a Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Famers on defense, right? This is a legitimate team with, titled pedigrees up and down their roster and their front office and their organization. And you have a first-year head coach of your organization. You have a rookie quarterback. You have all these young, talented guys, and you stuck with them toe-to-toe and arguably you could have won the game. I don't say should have.
Could have.
They could have had a very legitimate, good chance to win that game, and they proved that they're legit, and that the reason that you lost were a few things on the margins. And that should be so encouraging for them because it wasn't like they blew it, right? It wasn't, oh, we lost by 1 because we missed all these opportunities. No, there's a few little things here and there, like the jumping off sides, right? Few things that, if you can tweak those, we can compete with anyone in the world. And to me, that may be the most valuable thing, is this loss can be the greatest lesson all those guys on that team can learn for this year. So that almost may be more beneficial to them, to be honest, in a weird, crazy, almost convoluted sort of way. Another crazy game, I don't know if you saw this, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens, they had a crazy final quarter. 5 combined touchdowns were scored in that quarter by both teams. The last one was scored by Joe Burrow connecting with Jamar Chase with 38 seconds left to pull the Bengals within 1 point. I believe Jamar Chase had like 260-some yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. Burrow had like 400-some yards passing. And Cincinnati decided to go for the 2 in the win as opposed to kicking the extra point and forcing overtime. They missed it. They lost 35-34 on the road. Boy, you say you have no problem with that. Why?
1, you're on the road. 2, your defense is a sieve. I think the last 3-4 possessions, Baltimore came down and scored a touchdown. You're not winning that game with your defense. I don't care what you think you might be doing. So and Joe Burrow was on fire in that game. Yeah, Zero problem going for 2. Horrible execution, horrible play call.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase has got to get him the ball somehow, some way.
Does Cincinnati just not trust their kicker at all? Because it felt like there were a lot of scenarios in that game where they could have kicked. No,
That's more of a problem. That I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure why.
I think
He's
there's
a really
probably
good
more of an
kicker.
analytics thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
The analytics said in this spot with this yardage to go, we should go for it. I bet is what it is. The stupid computer, big old Joe Girardi placard looking at the percentages, right? That's I'm sure what it is.
I work with a couple Bengals fans. Shout out Bobby Bengals. But he came into work just livid, absolutely livid, because he just couldn't understand. He's very old school in his approach to sports. Very like, why trust the analytics? Like, what are we playing for? And so like that was my take on it. Was it has to be an analytics thing, and he said, yeah, but like I don't think anyone for a second had faith in their trust, in the team's trust of the analytics.
Yeah, I don't know. Analytics is only as powerful as you make it, right? And as well as you use it. There has to be a combination of analytics and independent thought. If everything is run through the computer, it's basically running a simulation, right? You're going to have all the possibilities there, and 68% of the time it works, which means 32% of the time it doesn't. So you're going to have that many times where it's not going to work out. Whereas, hey, what gives us the best opportunity to succeed in the situation? And that's not covered in analytics. It's just looking at, if you run this through a simulation, what is the end result most of the time? So, that's why. Thank you.
Talk about analytics.
Thank you.
Damn Jonah Hill.
I mean, like I kind of take a hybrid approach to it. Like I understand, obviously, being aware of the analytics. Like I feel like at this day and age, it's your job to be aware of it. But like you said, Nick, not everything needs to be run through a video game simulation and like that be taken as rule of law.
Yeah, because I mean, when you look at
if analytics were infallible, then like the games wouldn't be fun. You know what I mean? Like
correct.
This isn't a perfect world. It's not a utopian society, which I think like you have to put the analytics aside at a certain point and say like what does your gut tell you?
Yeah, because I mean, if you look sometimes when they'll show the ESPN analytics on like the fourth down, sometimes it'll say you should go for it when it's 4th and 7, and it's like, no, you shouldn't. No, you should not go for it when it's 4th and 7 in the second quarter. Right? No.
Yes, that's my favorite one. Is that when it's like the first or second quarter, and you're like on the 40, like your own 46. It's like 4th and 3, and it's like analytics say go for it. Like, no.
I think I've seen a 4th and 9, and not in the fourth quarter when it was a 4th and 9, like beginning of the third quarter. The team was winning, and it said you should go for it based on the analytics, because all the analytics are doing is just looking at what they perceive based off of the different variables and who's on defense and play calling, all these different things, like percentage of time that you ran a pass play that you would get 9 yards. Right?
I mean, it's
that's
crazy
not how it works.
Exactly. That's boilerplate. Is like there's certain things that like analytics.
We're going to get back to our hot plate soon. Don't worry.
Yeah, there's just certain things that analytics I feel like can't calculate for. You know what I mean? Like if analytics existed in like the old school days of sports, like analytics couldn't account for a Michael Jordan. They couldn't account for like a Magic Johnson. You know what I mean? Like there's intangibles that aren't going to translate to paper. You know what I mean? And like if you were to ask a Bengals fan, like in those instances, they don't have a Kobe Bryant, a Marshawn Lynch to like go for some of those certain plays, and I don't know, man. It's
we can look
at as a competitor, like I feel like you just gotta have. I keep saying it, like you just gotta have a gut feeling about these things, and it seemed like at certain points in that game, the Cincinnati coaching staff didn't really have a finger on the pulse.
So we can look at analytics for so many different things, and according to ESPN's analytics for their win probability of our opening what caught my eye game with Detroit and Houston at halftime, Houston had a 92.1% chance to win. But we know that didn't happen.
Yeah. So you're telling me there's a chance, right? I agree with you, boy. The going for 2, I have no issue with it because the rule is, it's not an exact rule, but if you're going to go for 2, you go for 2 in the win on the road, tie at home because you have the home field advantage. You push the extra session because you have more of a chance. And like you said, the Bengals defense might as well have paper bags over their heads. It's just
awful.
It's just horrendous. So I have zero issue with that because. You because at that point too, you should be putting the game in your best players' hands. Let them decide the fate, which is Burrow and Chase, as opposed to the guys you got on defense. But like you said, the ball's wasn't going to Chase. I don't think on that.
Yeah,
final play.
It was going to the tight end, and the tight end also didn't run his route deep enough into the end zone. He was if he catches that, he's short.
That's what I don't like about sometimes on these 2-point plays and like these short yardage plays, it's too gimmicky, too many moving parts. Right, we can't just go back to our normal spider 2 wide banana. Like, that works, right? Get some of these base plays, and it seems like that there's such a huge, like, on that play caller sheet, he's got a section for, like, the 2-point plays or, like, the short yards. He's got a section.
4th and 3.
Yep, he's got a section. He's looking through it, right? I think too many of those plays have too many of these moving parts.
Yes.
And, like, oh, we'll Philly special them and we'll trick them. It doesn't work that way, right?
You're almost doing yourself a disservice because those are... I guarantee you don't practice those plays as much as your regular base plays that you run throughout the course of the game, right? Your execution, you should be running the plays that you can execute the best.
Yes. And not saying it has to be a plain vanilla where it's going to take the ball and hand a 32 dive, right? But you're right. It should be it probably would work more of the time than these plays. But because sometimes these plays are the equivalent of if you just walked in the huddle and said, "Hey, you drew your play up on your hand, said, oh, you're going to button hook here, and you're going to run it out like this, and I'm going to roll this way." You might as well be drawing it on your hand, right? Like you did in the Sandlot. So
yeah. Hell yeah.
So that's my issue with some of those things.
Hot route.
I don't
Red
know.
7. Red 7.
I don't know what that means.
Just go to the other side. I was first team All-State. Put the ball anywhere I want.
We'll make it rain out here.
Ready for the noise? The noise?
Crab cakes in football. That's what Maryland does.
No.
Bengals know that more than ever now.
Yes, they do. Thank you, Conlo. Moving on, the 49ers, their kicker Jake Moody hit a walk-off 44-yarder after he had missed 3 field goals earlier in the game as the Niners beat Tampa Bay 23-20. Moody coming into that game had missed only 1 kick. So he had missed 1 kick the entire year, missed 3 in that game. They found themselves tied because of that, and he drilled the winner, a walk-off winner, which I thought was great to see.
Former long snapper here, Coach Nick Vesci. How do you feel about Debo getting pissed off at the long snapper?
What happened? See that? No.
Because of those 3 missed field goals, Debo was saying something to the long snapper. They got into a shoving match on the sideline.
That's not who you want to get in a shoving match with.
Typical rich people thinking they can just push us around. Yeah, the way I see it is if you've never been in the position, you've never done it, you have no room to talk. It's like the criticizing certain things of like if you're not the man in the arena, you have no say in it. Right, I think that was like a famous speech by Teddy Roosevelt way back in the day. Was talking about that. Like, if you're not the one going into battle, if you're not the one doing the action, you have no room to speak because you don't know it. You have no idea what you're talking about. So on something like that, from someone like Deebo Samuel, who I'm sure has never snapped a ball in his life, who's never long snapped before, you would hope he's not talking about some sort of snap thing. He may be talking about something else, but. Because at that point, again, that's where we misconstrue leadership with arrogance and entitlement, right? That's where you get that, and it's a fine line, right? It's hard to be a leader. It's difficult to balance those things. But if you're going to criticize people for something that you don't do and can't do, that's not being a good leader. So I hope it wasn't that, right? Deebo Samuel's a great player. I love watching him play. He's so multiple.
Tom Brady did that.
Things he can do. Tom Brady chewed out his long snapper. When did he do that?
No, I just mean like he yelled at people for jobs he never did.
Different though. Yeah. Different. But what I'm saying is that we're talking about a specialized thing that I know he, has never done, has never been in that position. Tom may be yelling at people about effort and things like that, right? Or that a lapse on the line that they didn't block the right person when he told them to go block this person, right? That's different when you have control over the situation. You're involved in the situation. Deebo Samuel's not involved in the mechanics of the field goal play. He's not. Right? He has no position. He's not in it. Right. So at that point, that's what I'm saying is he really doesn't have any room to speak about the status of that because he's not involved with it. But I did think it was really good. I stopped what I was doing to watch him kick the game-winning field goal because I thought that's a great story that you missed not once, not twice, but 3 times after missing once the entire year. And to have the mental fortitude to come back and execute and kick it, I thought was cool. Speaking of more field goals, all right, so a few more field goal stuff here. In Kansas City, Leo Chanel from
Wisconsin.
Definition
of a Badger. That guy's awesome.
He blocked the Broncos' potential walk-off field goal as Kansas City remained unbeaten 16-14 over Denver. A game they probably should have lost, had really no business winning, but that's, again, what champions do. Like the Chiefs, they find a way to win. I mean, I know Chanel gets credit for the blocked field goal, but there were like 4 other guys too who could have blocked it. It's just a botched blocking assignment for the Broncos there. But I thought that was cool. More field goal stuff, like I said, in Munich, in Germany. Graham Gano, not Guyess, but Gano. He had a 42-yarder with 5 seconds left as the Giants forced overtime versus the Panthers. But in OT, Carolina's Eddie Pinheiro, he connected from 36 yards to give Carolina the 20-17 victory. Chuba Hubbard for the Panthers, he had 153 yards rushing on 28 carries and a touchdown. 28 carries, can you imagine that from an NFL team? That's like an MLB pitcher pitching 8-9 innings.
You know what's nice about that is that they just gave him a big payday and extension and said, this is why we're, like, as much as the Panthers have just been an awful organization, they did at least recently give him a brand new, like, 4-year, $30 million extension, and then they gave him the rock 28 times, and guess what? You won.
Yeah.
Chuba Hubbard, I believe, Oklahoma State.
Yeah. And I think he's Canadian.
Is he really?
I believe he's
he was
Canadian.
An awesome running back to watch. That was a guy that, I mean, as a someone that went to West Virginia, so I watched a lot of Big 12. God, there were a few guys where no one just tackled this guy on the first try. Like him, Breece Hall, those guys like coming out of that same era, man, they were really tough running backs.
Yeah, I want to say Breece Hall at Iowa State. I want to say he like led the country in like broken tackles or something like that. Something crazy where he never got tackled by the first 2 people when he was there. But yeah, you're right, Chuba Hubbard. It's good to see, right? If you're going to pay someone, it's good to see them pay off. And like I said, 28 carries, it's like a pitcher going 8-9 innings. It doesn't happen anymore. You're lucky if a guy gets 12. So that was nice to see. Run the damn ball, please and thank you. The Cardinals, I wanted to touch on them because they've been really good this year. They improved to 6-4. They are still atop the NFC West. They beat the lowly Jets 31-6. The Arizona defense held the Jets to 207 total yards that game.
Doesn't do it.
207 total yards the Jets had. Like, what are we doing there?
Because it feels like the LeBron of like the NFL, where Aaron Rodgers goes, I like to have my guys, and I want to do this, and I'll get this coach fired, and I'll do that, and I'll bring in Devontae Adams because he's my buddy. Your team stinks.
Can you draft my kid?
Well, they're almost at that
give
point.
My kid a job?
Yeah, it's gonna be like that. If
he can give my kid a job. That's exactly what it was. He's a good kid, I swear.
Yeah. G League, here he comes.
Yeah. No, they are the Jets. I mean, we talked about Dan Campbell changing the culture of that entire organization, right? Because top down, it was a mess, and he's kind of created the buck stops here, accountability, work, effort, grit. Those things are more important than any statistic on a piece of paper. The Jets need that overhaul because right now they are. I mean, God, it's worse than the Cowboys out there. The Cowboys suck. I got my kid to say Cowboys suck the other day, and my wife was like, "Who are you saying that for?" I was like, "He's not wrong." They suck. If he's going to say something, at least he can be accurate and right in what he says.
Kids, where'd you learn that language? Oh, they were the suckiest bunch of sucks that ever sucked.
Thank you.
Homer. Yeah, well, my damn wiener kids are here.
Yeah, that's basically how it goes times now in Dallas. But the Jets, I think it's even worse. I mean, at least the Cowboys can say we're playing with a backup quarterback. Half the defense is injured. They have no running back. Their offensive line is aged out. Like, there's a lot of reasons you could point to as to why the Cowboys stink. The Jets, what is your excuse? I see none. Right?
They're supposed to be one of the most talented rosters, right?
Yeah. I mean, they went and addressed their biggest need, which was their offensive line, and brought in guys who are legit players, and that's yielded nothing. You're right. That's why you don't play things on paper. That's why, again, culture matters so much, is that Belichick's teams weren't always the most talented, but they were the best teams. Kansas City's team is not the most talented team. Doesn't matter if they have the best quarterback in the world. Top to bottom on that team, they are not the most talented team in the NFL.
No, that roster really isn't that great. If you start breaking it down, compared to other people, you have you probably have the best center, you probably have the best D tackle, and then you have the best quarterback. That's it.
That's it. You have the best pass catching tight end. Your tight end doesn't block anyone ever.
He's not. Is he still the best pass catching tight end? 3 years ago he was.
No, he still is.
He still is?
Pure pass catching, yeah. The other tight ends that we would bring up, they're good blockers, and like a Laporta, those types of guys, he's still a better pass catcher and runner with the ball. None of those guys are better with the ball than he is, right? He can turn those 2-yard outs into 12-yard gains real easily, better than maybe anyone's ever done. So, yeah, you have that, but you're right. He's not a blocker. You got a one-dimensional guy out there. Defensive wise, you got maybe the best D tackle, but what else? Some unsung linebackers: Nick Bolton, Leo Chanel, right? I think they had another linebacker who's unsung. D back wise, have been pretty solid.
Sneed,
L'Jarius Sneed,
yeah, he's really
right?
good.
You got legit guys there, but you're right. It's not like you're looking at, I think the Niners have the most talented roster, but all their guys have been hurt or ineffective because they held out, right? So, it's one of those things. You've got to find who fits you. You have to out-execute the other team, and you have to outwork them, and you have to outsmart them. And it kind of feels like Andy Reid and Mahomes have the biggest brains of anyone out there at this point in time.
Yes.
Anything else NFL before we move on?
Wait, are we not going to talk about the Bears?
Why? Because they lost to the Pats? You wanted to bring up the Pats? I purposely did not want to bring up the New England Patriots. Yeah, go Pats. Jets suck.
It's got nothing to... I honestly could give a rat's ass about bringing up the Patriots. Love them, but I'm not. That's not why I want to bring up. I just want to bring up the absolute dumpster fire that is going on in Chicago right now. If I'm a Chicago Bears fan, I'm livid that Matt Eberflus still has a job right now.
The Bears, their offensive coordinator. Yeah.
But it's one of those things. It's, again, organizationally, top to bottom, they've had issues. But two, you had the number one pick for a reason last year, right? Yes, I believe one of the reasons was that the Panthers traded it to you. But you still weren't any good. You had whatever the number, another top 10 pick with it, right? So you're picking that high for a reason, right? You're not that good. You're going to have growing pains. You have a young quarterback. How do you position him and put him in positions to succeed? These last few games, it seemed that they haven't done that well because they haven't scored a touchdown in weeks at this point, right? Mm-hmm. It's been terrible. But you have to exercise some patience. You have to have some self-awareness. But that also means from a play calling standpoint and other things that we're not putting too much on this young man's shoulders, that we are maybe running the damn ball a little bit more, maybe quicker outs, get the ball out of his hands.
On paper, offense isn't supposed to be their problem. And I think that's where a lot of outcries are coming from for in the Chicago Bears camp, is that if they were going to have any lapses, they were going to lose games because of defense, not because of offense. And they're just bad.
What I'm saying is
they're bad.
you can't just expect that because this young quarterback comes in, and like you are saying, their most talent is on their offensive end, right? They're skill guys. They've got some great skill. Like DJ
at this point,
DJ Moore's and
talent.
Is Keenan Allen on their team or no?
Yes.
He's on them. Roma Dunze they picked with that other first round pick.
I really liked Roma Dunze too.
Right, they've got some dudes. Offensive line wise, I don't know who they have. That may be a big issue that they can't protect, right? Because that's something that is so undervalued in just from the analysis standpoint of people nitpicking at games and teams. They forget the importance of that. You can't just roll out 5 guys. This isn't Madden, right? You got to have legit linemen if you want to protect and move the ball down the field. But it doesn't just click like that, is what I'm saying. Right? With a young quarterback, even with those guys, like we see it and it frustrates Bears fans because you see what's happening in Washington with Jaden Daniels, right? And you're seeing the success that he's having. You're saying, well, why are we not doing the same with our guy who we picked before him? We could have had Daniels, but we decided to go with Caleb Williams. And I think it just comes down to something. I think it comes down to confidence. I think Caleb Williams' confidence wasn't as high as Jaden Daniels was because of last season in USC, how they was tough on him because they were bad, right? The confidence isn't there organizationally. It's not.
There are reports that Caleb Williams' teammates were begging the coaches to bench Caleb Williams because it's just not good for him to be out there.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. You got to balance.
Nothing
this
against
kid ready.
It sounds like they wanted it to protect him more than anything.
No, I just was talking to people earlier about this with Anthony Richardson on the Colts. He's straight up not ready to be an NFL quarterback, but yet because we picked him so high in the draft, we have to throw him out there. And I don't understand why we have that mindset that he's got such measurables. Of course he'll succeed. That'll translate. It's not a video game. It doesn't translate directly like we said. He needs time. Caleb Williams may need time. That's just a thing. That should be okay. But unfortunately, you spend a number 1 overall pick on a guy, you don't have that time. And that's why we've seen so many of these guys picked so high in recent years just get chewed up and spit out. I mean, I think it's the 2021 draft. All the quarterbacks that were taken, besides one, are not even on their team anymore. All right, that Trevor Lawrence is the only one. Right, the other ones in that draft were like Mac Jones and Justin Fields and there's a couple other guys that were picked that it's like they're not there anymore. Zach Wilson, I think, was the number 2 overall pick, right? So you've got all these guys, and when you really look at it, how many of those guys were put in situations to succeed?
8 QBs taken in first 3 rounds, most in draft history.
For 2021? Is that...
Yeah. That was when the article was written, and so at that point that this was the most in draft history. Number 1, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Number 2, Zach Wilson. Number 3, Trey Lance, who played 5
snap
games in his
5 snaps.
Career. Yeah. Yeah, I think between college and pros, I think he's played a total of 8 games.
Solid.
Number 11 was Justin Fields. Number 15, Mac Jones. The next were in round 3, number 64, 66, and 67. Do you know who these names are? Buccaneers, gosh. Vikings, Texans.
Is one of them Davis Mills? I think I was looking at this.
That's correct. Davis Mills was number 67 for the
Kyle
Texans.
Trask on there?
That's also correct. Number 64. You're missing one to the Vikings.
To the Vikings. Goodness. Christian Ponder? What? EJ Manuel? Is that the other one?
No.
From Florida State? No.
Do you want college conference? Or
sure.
College? SEC. I don't think you're going to get them because
it's from the SEC?
SEC.
Oh, is it like Sam Ellinger?
Give me the school.
No.
Or
Texas A&M.
Oh, Kellen Mond.
Kellen Mond is correct, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm amazed you got the other 2. That was pretty good.
I literally was looking at this hours ago.
Oh, okay.
Solid.
So I just remembered that. But, yeah, it just...
But, organizationally, back to the Bears real quick, organizationally, there's a good chance that we have a huge repeat in history, right? If they decide, Eberflus isn't the guy, his system isn't the system for Caleb Williams, then Caleb Williams will have had 2 coaches in his first year, just like Justin Fields,
Yep.
and just like Mitch Trubisky.
Mitch Trubisky was the only one that lead them to the playoff. I think playoff win.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
but then like the next year he like laid an egg.
Yeah, because he's not good.
Yeah,
And the organization's just.
and that was his rookie.
But Conlo's
year
got a
too,
point
right?
though. It's you can, how are you going to develop a guy when you're changing coordinators and coaches every year? It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
And
so he's already going through this is his second offensive coordinator.
yeah, in one season. That's why I think to fire him is bad. That doesn't help. It
The optics around what's Shane Waldron? That was the OC's name, right?
Yeah, you fire him because it looks good now. It satisfies the masses now. Oh, we took action because we saw this wasn't working, and it's
correct. But he didn't really do himself any favors.
No, he didn't.
all the clips of him like sitting next to clearly a miserable Caleb Williams, and like Waldron is just sitting next to him, like smiling or laughing. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you laughing at right now? Like, get it together. Do you see the fire around you?
By the way, did you see Caleb Williams on draft night called the punter of the Bears and said, "You won't be punting much."
Oh, and that has been the biggest meme. There's counters all over the internet.
Yeah.
how many punts?
How many times have the Bears punted since this season?
He has more.
Wait, did they draft Torrey Taylor? Is that who they from Iowa? Is that who they got?
Their punter? I'm not sure.
I think so, because I think I remember when they drafted him, I thought this was a great pick because I was like, you're going to be punting a lot. You might as well get this awesome ass punter from Iowa. Yeah,
I believe he has more punt yards than Caleb Williams has passing yards.
Caleb Williams has the lowest completion percentage of any NFL quarterback in history. Dead last 469th.
That can't be right because Anthony Richardson is even worse.
Did he qualify?
He's played more games than Caleb Williams.
Let me see.
Anthony Richardson's completion percentage is like 40. It may even be lower than that. A couple weeks ago, he went a whole half of football, went 3 for 21. 3 for 21. That's almost like hard to do.
It's hard to do.
I'm efforting this stat.
Okay, well,
but we can move on.
While you're efforting, we'll move ourselves on
Sure.
To some NCAA football, not the video game, but the real life game that happened over the weekend. Some big
Video
kind of
game's a lot of fun, by the way.
That's
Just let you know.
Some things that kind of may shake up the college football playoff landscape. Ole Miss, their defense forced 3 turnovers, something we're not used to in Ole Miss, and they held Georgia to less than 250 total yards of offense in a very impressive 28-10 win in Oxford, and the students got to storm the field, which is always fun.
Twice, by the way, because they came on too early. But you know how much the fine was because they stormed it twice?
It was like $250,000.
It was
$450.
It was $350 because they were. It literally says because they stormed it twice. It's like here's what it is for the first one. Here's what it is for the second one.
So they stacked it on. That's kind of fun. I bet you could legally argue that is a misappropriation of that clause in that contract because that's not 2 separate times. That's still one time in that night. Just because you were on it more than once doesn't mean you stormed it more than once. But I digest. Another field storming came when Georgia Tech rushed for 271 yards and took out previously unbeaten Miami at home 28-23 and gained bowl eligibility. And again, the fans got to storm the field for that one. I thought that was more appropriate. Georgia Tech, I do think is pretty good. Haynes King, I think I had like 100 yards rushing and multiple.
Because he's back.
Yeah, I mean he only threw for less than 100 yards, but the rushing on Georgia Tech, the physicality, too much for Miami.
Exactly the way you beat Miami. God, if Haynes King, this Georgia Tech team could have finished with like 8 wins probably. I think they could have. I think they would have hung with Notre Dame. Would have had a chance to win the game, and I think they would have beaten Virginia Tech.
Yeah, they're a good team. They are. It's not a team I want to play in my bowl game where I'm celebrating and if you get them in the Pinstripe Bowl and it's cold in New York, you're gonna beat the crap out of whoever they play. Speaking of beating the crap out of people, Indiana. This was their closest game of the year. They improved to 10-0, though. They reached 10 wins for the first time in school history with their 20-15 victory over Michigan. Who would have ever thought that in that game, the team that had been undefeated was Indiana at the beginning of the year?
By the way, here's a Indiana stat. Now you just mentioned that they're 10-0 for the first time in school history. There are now only 2 other power conference teams who have never won 10 games.
Yep, Iowa State and was it Rutgers?
It's a team that looks very good this year. Has had one of their best years they've had in probably ever. SEC.
Oh, Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Iowa State and Vanderbilt, right? Are the 2 teams?
Yes.
Yep. I saw that stat. That's pretty amazing. And again, good for Indiana. We said this before. They have the most losses ever in the history of Division I football, or FBS football. So for them to be doing this well is fun to see. I hope they keep it rolling. Entering a big test next.
Yeah, it's nice that they have a bye week.
Yeah, they got to bye, then they play Ohio State. At Ohio State, I believe, at the Horseshoe.
Correct.
Speaking of remaining unbeaten, BYU, or BU for short, they escaped their rivalry game with the Utes of Utah, the 2 Utes out there. There's a controversial holding call against the Utes on the final BYU drive. It was on 4th down. They sacked BYU's quarterback on the 1-yard line, the other 1-yard line. And they called a holding call on Utah's DB on the outside. And it was controversial because the timing of it felt off.
Correct call.
But yeah, if you want to say correct call by letter of law, it is. My one issue is that the way college officials have officiated defensive players going after receivers, that is the weakest call I saw all weekend. They allow these guys to maul and accost the receivers, and like to no end, to the point where they just blatantly don't call holdings and pass interferences because they just we'll let them play, right? So that's where my issue is that you're at 4th down, and this is the call you make when you've let so many other things go. You just obliterate the receiver and nothing happens.
I get it,
but you're right. It's the correct call. It's not like they didn't make an incorrect call.
They did not make an incorrect call. It sucks for the timing of it. I get it. You think you got cheated. However, you can stop them. You had chances. I think you had 46 total yards in the second half on offense or something like that.
Well, in that final drive, they had to drive the entire field. You let them do it. It's.
I have no this whole we got cheated by the refs thing is so juvenile.
That's the trend, though. Outrage is trending. That's
when you're the
we
AD,
have to be outraged by something.
Yeah. When you're the AD doing that, he only got fined $40,000. I would have given him a little bit heftier just to do it because he was just such an ass. I mean, it's so juvenile, and just to say like, the Big 12 screwed us. Like, yeah, you guys thought you were gonna run through this conference and you have one win. Get bent, dude.
Go pound sand and lick windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Will Farron, not Will Ferrell. Will Farron kicked the 44-yard field goal with 3 seconds left as the Cougars remained undefeated and won against the Utes on a Saturday night. Very late Saturday night, by the way. Again, if I weren't up with a screaming newborn, I probably wouldn't have watched that entire game, but I did. Moving on to a game I was awake for. Alabama, they dismantled LSU in Death Valley, 42-13. Jalen Milroe rushed for 185 yards and 4 scores, and that made me really want to say "Roll Tide, y'all." And I think someone else did too. Kamala.
Yeah, I gotcha. Hold on.
Y'all don't even know he was a virgin until he's 28, and now, Roll Tide.
Woo! 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 Roll Tide, y'all.
Roll Tide, roll.
Roll damn Tide. But yeah, that was a statement victory. That pretty much, I think, almost cemented their place in the Final 12 if they win out. Because they're going to put them in there. Right, with that victory, I don't know. Obviously, they have Auburn coming up at the end of the year. I don't know who else they have. They
they
probably
should
have
their
like
cupcake.
Mercer, I think.
That's correct. It's Mercer at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's terrible. And then versus Auburn.
Yeah, so none of those wins help them at all. Right?
No,
a loss is going to eliminate them, I think.
Correct. Yes. That would be 3 losses, and you can't lose to one of those teams.
And those teams all suck, right? So I think this victory, and especially the way they did it, basically they're in. Even if they don't make it to the SEC championship game, they're in the playoff. It's just how, kind of the trend, if you will. Like the name on the front means so much for them. They'll look at the talent on their team. That means so much. With a victory like this, only 2 losses, they're going to put them ahead of some other teams that don't make them as much money. And they're in. Write it down. Put it on the books. Mark it. Bama will be in the playoff.
So, like, one of the biggest things that I saw come out of that Alabama game was that...
What are we looking here? This isn't the live thing, is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is.
This is where Alabama's sitting right now in the current college football playoff rankings that just happened. They're sitting at number 10.
Okay. Interesting.
All right, so we'll let you analyze that as I run through my last couple bits of college football info. Just wanted to mention these last ones have nothing to do with the playoff. They're just fun. So, like I said, enjoy them while you take a look at these rankings. Yeah, UVA, they came back in the second half to hand Pitt their second straight loss, 24-19 in Pittsburgh. All 3 of UVA's conference wins this year are second half comebacks. UConn, yes, the Huskies of Ucken, they scored 21 points in the fourth quarter to come back and beat UAB or UAB 31 to
wait, UAB, they had to come back against UAB?
Yes, they did.
Oh my god. The UAB I think is the worst team in the nation.
They're not the worst team. Kent State is the only winless team. They just lost 41-0 this past week to someone terrible in the MAC. But they won 31-23. The Huskies are now 7-3 on the season. I wanted to throw that in there. They're good for the... Do you know who their coach is, by the way?
Is it not Jim Mora?
It is Jim Mora, yes.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Jacksonville State. Speaking of hilarious coaches, Jacksonville State coached
Rich Rod,
by
baby.
Rich Rodriguez. The Fighting Riley Greens completed a Hail Mary as time expired against Louisiana Tech to tie the game. The extra point would have won the game. They shanked the extra point to go to overtime, and then Trey Stewart had an 11-yard touchdown run to give the Gamecocks a 44-37 victory over Louisiana Tech. I thought that was worth mentioning because it was so hilarious. You feel bad for the kicker. He's in disbelief. The entire sideline's on disbelief. It cannot believe he just did that after they completed a Hail Mary to tie the game as time expired. And then the last one here, Arizona State, they improved to 7-2 with a 35-31 win over UCF. Jordan Tyson scored the eventual game-winning touchdown grab with less than 5 minutes to go to give the Sun Devils the victory. And 7-2 for them is really good. They have been a team that have been mired in not just mediocrity, but poor play the previous few years. I think Kenny Dillingham is the coach.
Yes.
Young guy came in. He's done a really good job. Now, these rankings, like I said, give yourself a time to digest these, look at them. First thoughts as you look at this.
First thoughts, I actually think this is pretty good. Because of the top 4 having to be your conference champions.
Yeah,
that's your top 4 ranked conference champions. That's why who's bounced, like Ohio State, Indiana, like that's why they're not up there, right? Correct. So 1, 2, 3, 4, having that be like Miami's actually ranked 9th, but they're 4 in the college football bracket because they would be the winner of the ACC, is what they're projecting. I don't know why SMU's not there, but I guess that's just
they're not there because if you look on the left hand side, they're the CFP ranking. They're not. So you would take.
So you have to. Yeah.
You take the highest one.
I would just swap those because SMU's leading the conference. That's it.
But would that if you swap that, does that move Boise State up, and does that make Boise State the 4 and SMU the 5, and they go to number 12?
That's a good point.
I think
I would argue Boise State's better than the ACC champion. Or
yes, I think Boise State's going to wind up that number 4 seed. before
I
the
don't
whole
disagree
thing's all
because
said and
I
done.
think ACC is going to do something to beat themselves. Like SMU
And
might win this, and then BYU might lose to like Colorado or something.
Yep.
And then that would get Colorado in. Boise State would go to the 4.
My issue is Indiana still being disrespected.
I agree.
How is Penn State where they are? Penn State, I'm sorry, is not that good.
Correct.
I do not think they're any good.
Indiana should be the 3. They should be ranked 2 or 3.
Yes,
Indiana and BYU should
obviously,
rank 2 or 3.
Oregon is still going to be the 1. Indiana should be that 6th position instead of the 7th.
Yes.
Because Ohio State, I'm fine with them being the number 2. I guess.
What's great is that we get to find out.
We do. We'll play it on the field. But who else are you going to put? I think Ohio State's earned it, but at this point,
I would have put Indiana. I mean, because BYU's already in, I would have just put Indiana there at the 5. But
that would mean Indiana would have to be the number 2 team in the country. You see what I'm saying?
Correct. Why is that?
It's not. I as much as I love them, I still would have Ohio State and Texas. I'm okay with those 2 schools being above them based on the victories that they have. But I have no issue if they were number 2. I still think it's disrespectful to keep them behind all those schools and only have them, where they are. Notre Dame's been playing really good football. I'm fine with them there. Tennessee,
I agree.
Tennessee kind of feels like they're there by default because they only have 1 loss, and who else we're going to put is kind of why they're there because they're an SEC school with 1 loss.
Correct. That's
why they're as high up.
It's an SEC school.
Yep. Ole Miss, with their way they beat Georgia, I'm fine with that. But still, their 2 losses. One of them was a Kentucky loss, which is not a good loss. And
no, it's not.
I don't know what the other loss is. So that's where it does come a little bit.
LSU. I think it's LSU.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, I guess that makes sense. I still think there's a lot that's going to happen here. I think some of those SEC teams are going to lose again. Because, again, the SEC, they'll say, it's because we're so competitive. It's just inconsistent and too amateurish and too juvenile from the mindset standpoint of the players, in my opinion. And that doesn't –
I've seen so many people –
the volatility.
Yeah, I've seen so many people like, well, Indiana and BYU, like, if you put them in the SEC, they'd be 5-5. I'm like, how do you know that? How do you know that? You're just saying that because you think the SEC is the best ever.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know that. Indiana could have rolled through all these teams.
Exactly. We're talking about an SEC where Vanderbilt has a winning record, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to tell me,
where Tennessee loses to Arkansas, and Arkansas is trash, and they lost to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is god-awful.
Yes. Yeah.
But big bad SEC. But I as far as looking at these rankings, I don't like Penn State being ranked number 4, but however, they're number 6. I agree that Indiana should be above them. I don't have that much of a problem with this. I like that Georgia's out, actually, because you got to earn it, beat Tennessee, right? I keep seeing like a 3-loss SEC team might get in, and it's just I think we need to prepare ourselves for the fact that might be true.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna piss everyone off. It's gonna piss me off.
It's gonna happen
because they want the biggest brand in there. They're gonna find a way to get Georgia in there probably, but Georgia beat Tennessee. Take care of your business. Like, you might have the toughest schedule, but you're supposed to be the best team in the country, right?
Yeah.
Take care of business.
Is that who they play next? Is Tennessee?
Yes. Georgia, Tennessee. That's the big one.
Yeah, Notre Dame is in a good spot as well.
Because Notre Dame's feeling really good. They get Army. They get Army next.
No, they have UVA next.
Do they? Army's got bye. So
they have UVA,
then they Army.
Yeah, and then USC. I think does that give you 12 games? They're 8-1 right now. UVA, Army, Southern Cal.
Yes.
And you got to think, right? Crazily, Army's the toughest game they're going to play there, and it's a neutral site at Yankee Stadium. Right, so they don't have to go to West Point in a weird stadium that's under construction and play this team, right? So, yeah, Notre Dame's got to feel good that if they can just get through these crappy teams that they're playing. Army's not crappy, but you know what I'm saying. You can get through these teams you're supposed to beat.
Yeah. So basically what I'm looking at here is that if Indiana loses to Ohio State and they don't look good, they'll finish most likely 11-1, and they could miss the whole thing because Ohio State I think would have the tiebreaker going into the conference championship. So Indiana would not get into the conference championship, and they would miss out on the postseason. Indiana basically has to go undefeated, I think.
Which is what I said at the beginning of the year. There's certain teams that you're gonna have to go undefeated to get in. Other teams you can lose 2-3 games and get in, and that's just unfortunately.
But I will
how
say,
things work
as a whole, how fun is this?
Well, there's more teams that have stuff to play for.
Exactly, this is awesome. I mean, look at Boise State, Ohio State in the first round matchup. Like based on the current standings right here, that'd be so cool.
Yeah,
that'd be so much fun.
And the winner getting to go to Miami and play,
which you would probably be favored in that game, right?
I think so.
You're
right. So, some of these matchups were so
Ole
cool.
Miss, Penn State, that winner would probably be favored against BYU.
Notre Dame could go to Oregon. Actually, that would be those would be bowl games. Sorry, those would be neutral site games.
Correct. So you're
but
5
it's
through
still
8.
Those are hell of a great bowl games. Right? It's a good thing. It's a good thing they did this. The debate. There's always going to be debate, and that's what people bring up. Oh, you had an issue with this, you had an issue with that, and I get it. I'm fine arguing over. I'd rather argue over teams 10, 11, 12, 13.
No, I get that. But I love this though. Looking at this, like the Horseshoe would host a game. Neyland Stadium hosts a game. Penn State hosts a game.
Beaver Stadium,
yeah, that would be so awesome.
100 points if you can get Indiana's stadium name.
Memorial.
I was going to say, Memorial. That's your best guess is Memorial Stadium. I think that's it, right?
Yeah, it's Memorial Stadium.
Okay.
But this would be so much fun. By the way, there is a hilarious scenario in the Big 12 that includes my Mountaineers. Because, I mean, it's a scenario that won't happen, but it's just funny to talk about it. Basically, West Virginia, I think we're sitting like 4th or 5th in the standings. If every team above them loses a game, except for BYU doesn't matter. But if the other teams above them lose a game in the last 3 games of the season, West Virginia holds the tiebreaker over Colorado. And if West Virginia wins out, I have no. It's some weird.
They don't play them.
They don't play them, but it's some weird system that they have that for some reason West Virginia would actually hold the tiebreaker, and West Virginia would go to the Big 12 championship. And let's just say, for shits and gigs, West Virginia beats BYU and wins the Big 12 conference. They probably wouldn't even get into the postseason because it's the 5 highest conference champions, and you would probably put Army or Tulane in above them with Boise. So you would have the ACC, SEC, Big 10, American, and Mountain West. Yeah. That would be one of the funniest scenarios.
That'd be the best. I'm a part of your system, man.
So I threw it on the ground.
Yeah. I think by the end of this, Boise State's going to be one of the top 4 in terms of seeding.
I like that. Yeah, I agree. That's a matchup you do not want. You do not want to see Boise on the 12 line.
No, you don't. You would rather them be a bowl game at some random stadium where your fans will easily outnumber them. You don't want that risk of this has this. Yes, you'll have home field advantage, but you don't want that. You want this random Tostitos Fiesta Bowl game against them.
Do you want the Fiesta Bowl? Because I believe the last time they had the Fiesta Bowl, they beat Oklahoma.
Yeah, it was the Ian Johnson Statue of Liberty after the
Hook and ladder.
Yep. Anything else college football wise before we move on?
No.
I don't think so. I just think this is a lot of fun. I'm just really happy with the 12 team. They're going to expand it eventually and make it 16 probably, but 12 to me is such a great number. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, just to have these couple rounds. That's all you needed. It's not really taking up any more time from our schedules, from the kids' schedules really either. When you think about the fact that how many weeks they have off between some of these bowl games, we'll play a football game, and hey, we might be done. Some of these teams are probably going to be done sooner than they normally would be. Right?
Correct. And I also love that they always made it like their reasoning behind not doing one of these was because of the finals. They're like, well, we have to work around finals. How come Division I AA has been able to do this for years with 16 teams. And their finals probably mean a lot more to those kids. So I don't know why. They've always said that they've had to work around their finals.
Yeah. No, it's a
No, you don't.
scam.
Yeah, no, you don't. This is what we needed. This is what college football needed. And what's great, too, is the regular season still means so much. It's not the end of the world if you lose one, but, man, if you lose two, and it depends on who you are as a team if you lose one. I mean, it's so much fun, and the fan bases are still devastated after losses. Like, I love it. Absolutely love it.
I think it's fun. It's good. All right, that's going to move us on to our Mimosa Minute this week, brought to you by Maine & Co., the creators of the Modern Mimosa. Visit them at mainsip.com to order yours today, and follow them on Instagram at maine.co to stay up to date with new releases and products. Maine & Co., championing women's athletics since 2020. Our Mimosa Minute this week takes us to Saudi Arabia for the WTA Finals, which is the Women's Tennis Association Finals. Coco Gauff, she won. She became the youngest player since Maria Sharapova in 2004 to win the WTA Finals when she came from behind to defeat Zhang Qinwen 3-6, 6-4, 7-6. Right, so she dropped the first set, won the second, and then won the third in a tiebreak. Coco is the youngest player to beat the world number 1 and world number 2 who at the WTA Finals in the same year. The world number 1 is Aryna Sabalenka. Number 2 is Iga Swiatek. She beat both of them en route to the finals against Zhang, who was an Olympic finalist. So Sabalenka had 2 majors this year. Swiatek had a major. Zhang won the Olympics, and Coco took all of them out. But she is the youngest to defeat those two in a WTA final since Kim Clijsters in 2002. There's a name for you from back in the day. Zhang and Gauff, both are 22 years of age. They are the youngest pair to compete in the finals since 2004 when Maria Sharapova beat Serena Williams. And the win awarded Coco a record $4.8 million payday.
Not a bad day's work.
No. Thought that was pretty awesome. So, like, the WTA Finals, it's like an 8-person tournament. Like, only the top 8 players go. So, every game or match, you are best of the best of the best. And so to come out on top is a big freaking deal. So, for her to win is amazing, right? She's already got a U.S. Open championship. She's, arguably the face of tennis, of women's tennis right now. So, good for Coco. Love to see it. Looking for big things from her next year. I think a major or 2 is definitely expectation, right? Anything else Mimosa Minute-wise that you guys saw? No. Next thing I want to get to is sticking with the theme of handing out championships, and that's going to move to the realm of NASCAR. I don't know if you guys watched the race on Sunday, but we wrapped up. It was our championship race. Wrapped up the season on Sunday in Phoenix. So how it played out, there was a restart with less than 60 laps left, and Joey Logano went from 5th place all the way to the front, past fellow Championship 4 driver William Byron, who was there because of, remember, that controversial ruling where the Chevys were blocking for him, and they penalized Christopher Bell for, literally it says wall riding. That's like the rule he got penalized for, Christopher Bell did. And so Byron was there controversially, but Logano passed him. And teammate Ryan Blaney of Logano's, he's the defending champion. After Logano made his move, he's about 3.5 seconds back, which is a lot, right, in racing. And he just slowly walked him down. Just every lap, chipped away. And at one point, he got to within 0.1 seconds of Logano, like literally right on his tail, right on, like stink on a monkey, right? So he's that close to him, but he could not pass him. Less than 10 laps left, couldn't get past Logano, and eventually Joey Logano won. Marked the 3rd career championship for Joey Logano. He won in 2018 and 2022. He is just the 10th driver ever to win 3+ championships and denied Blaney back-to-back titles. But Penske, he proved, Logano did, that he is definitely Penske material because Penske's team has won the last 2 championships. Blaney last year and Logano the year before.
Little bulldog in college.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, we just had to, the whole board got indicted and we can't hire you. Oh, you mean the Penske file? Yeah, so I thought good for Joey Logano that he was able to win that championship. Again, he etched his name in history, cemented his place as a Hall of Famer. Because the other guys on that list are 3+. It's like Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon and Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt and Jimmy Johnson and Cale Yarborough and David Pearson. Like, there's some dudes from the realm of NASCAR that are on that list that he's now a part of. So pretty cool. Good for Logano and for the Penske team.
By the way, did you know the owner of my company married Richard Petty's daughter?
Really? Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yep.
The
they
king
named
himself?
their son Richard.
King Richard?
Yes, the king.
Yep. Then I did real quick want to touch on. We talked about the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Winnipeg Jets last week. They haven't slowed down. By the way, they are still rolling. The Cavs on Friday night, they beat the Warriors 136-117. They became the first team in NBA history to win its first 10 games and score 110 plus points in each of those games, which is pretty amazing, right? You think about it, you're not just winning, you are winning, right? You are taking it to people. That 20-point win is coming against a team, the Warriors, who are playing really well right now. Yeah, we thought they were over the hill, but I think they're 8-2 coming into play on Tuesday night. They're doing pretty well. So they're beating good competition.
By the way,
Cleveland is now 12-0. Yes.
Well, I was gonna say I'm sure you're gonna get to this guy, your fellow Wahoo, but a lot of people on social media are like, "Who is Ty? Like Ty Jerome's amazing. Like, who is this guy? He came out of nowhere." Like, is there a bigger disconnect between the NBA and college athletics than like besides maybe baseball, because it's just such a big like minor league system that gets you there? Like, my God, this guy won a national championship 5 years ago and was the face of the team. Like,
but 5 years ago, there's the operative thing, right? The average NBA fan is like 13 years old. So 5 years ago, for that kid, he's like 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah, but these aren't like 13-year-olds, right? These are grown adults and people who are
grown adults who are still living their 13-year-old selves.
Yeah,
right.
But I was like, man, you guys don't know who Ty Jerome is? Like, the guy won a national championship and was the best player on that team. I mean, he was the cog in that machine. I guess Hunter, you would probably say is the best player, but
no, I do agree. Ty Jerome was the most important player on that team.
He was the most important. That's the way to do it.
He was. I would say he was the best player, but yeah, no, he's been fantastic. He's the perfect complement to what they're building there. Cleveland is now 12-0 entering play on Tuesday. That's off to the best start of any team since the 2015-2016 Warriors, who started 24-0 and went on to go 73-9 that year. Only 7 other teams have ever started 12-0, by the way, in NBA history. So we're watching, Isn't that amazing? 7 other teams. They're only the 8th team ever to go 12-0.
So Bulls, Warriors, was it Bulls multiple times?
I don't know. I didn't look at the breakdown of the teams. I bet there's probably some random teams that would surprise you.
Lakers.
That is probably, I bet like a random like Grizzlies or some random team is in there like that got
Vancouver
hot.
Grizzlies.
Maybe.
Seattle Supersonics.
Yep. Sure.
Teams that don't exist anymore.
Yes. No, I really think there's probably some random teams in there. Some random like Lou Alcindor Bucks on there or something like that.
Minneapolis Lakers.
Yeah. But what I do think is amazing too, if you look at the Eastern Conference, a lot of teams are playing some mediocre basketball right now. The Bucks are 2-8. Many of these 2-8. They're terrible. A lot of teams are like 5-6. The Knicks, I think, are like 5-6, right? Ooh. So there's a lot of average ball or being like people aren't up to speed yet in the East, but Cleveland is, right? And that to me is really impressive. There on the West, you've got some really good teams going. Like Denver's playing well. Phoenix is playing fantastic with Ryan Dunn from
UVA.
God,
he's been awesome.
He's been fantastic. It's almost like him getting this freedom with like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker there, where he's like, they're just like, hey, go do this, man. Young man, go. Right? Take reins off.
He wants
attack.
He wants the best player too. He wants to defend the best player. I love it.
Oh, and I think that is helping those guys a lot. Right?
Oh, yeah, because they don't have to exert so much energy on the defensive end. I just leave it to the young buck who's, I mean, by the way, his wingspan's like 7'1". I believe he's 6'7", 6'8". His wingspan's like 7'1". Very athletic, very long.
Yeah.
Very smart defender because he came from Tony Bennett's UVA defense. I mean, yeah, he's going to be in the league for a while.
Yeah, and with a Durant who is still a potent scorer, but he's aging. He's towards the latter part of his career, right? Every little bit helps, right? Yusuf Nurkic, I think, is their big man. Does a lot of the same things. He's gonna. Oh, thank you. He's gonna do the dirty work that these guys don't have to do. These guys are getting freed up because of like the complementary pieces that Phoenix has. I think it's the reason they're playing well. Another team playing well is Houston. The Rockets, I think, are 7-4. Do you know who their best player is?
Houston?
Yeah.
I couldn't name you one player on that team.
It is Alperen Şengün from...
it was on the tip of my tongue. I have no idea.
On Thanksgiving, you don't eat ham, you eat...
Turkey?
Yeah, from Turkey.
Istanbul, not Constantinople now?
Yes. He's really good. You talk about a guy who most people have no idea. Alperen Şengün is really, really good. He's a big man. He averages a double-double this year. He was by the NBA's equivalent to WAR. I forget what it's called. He was one of the top players in the entire league last year. Şengün was. So I think they're a team that is going to stay. I think they've got some staying power there. They got some pieces. Like you said, you can't name any of them, but it's kind of like the Cavaliers a couple years ago. You couldn't name any of those guys, and now we can name their, most of their team. I think the Rockets are on that trajectory. NHL-wise, the Jets, we talked about them last week from Winnipeg, not New York. These are the better Jets, greater Jets. They're the first team in NHL history to win 14 of their first 15 games. Thought that was amazing.
Wow.
They've kept it rolling. They've had a few off games, so they're still at 14-1-0. But, yeah, hats off to them.
They just beat the hell out of the Rangers tonight.
So they're 15-1.
They're 15-1?
Yeah, that would be their 15th win.
They just won tonight.
That put them at 30 points.
Right? It says from November 12th.
Yeah, that was tonight. They were playing, and that was a good way to... A lot of analysts were looking at that game as a way to grade a trade from 2019 of Trouba for Pionk. And everyone is saying obviously it's easy to say now because of where they are, where the Jets are, but everyone's saying the Jets won that trade not just because of the season they're having, but because Trouba hasn't put up nearly as good a numbers as he did when he played for the Jets, and Pionk has continued to raise his
Trouba's
stock.
not about numbers, though. The way he plays, yes, he did put up some real good numbers with Winnipeg, and you have seen a sharp, pretty decline, but he's still their captain. He's a captain for a reason. He's a crucial part of New York. Like that.
Well, I can give you the plus minuses for each of them in this game. Trouba was -3 and
that's so bad.
Pionk was +2.
Yeah,
that's really good.
I'll take Trouba. I like Trouba. He's the type of player you need on your team to win championships.
New York bias.
I was going to say, you mean he's a Ranger?
Yeah. By the way, you went into New York and beat the crap out of the
Rangers. Captain, my captain. But no,
like a true Yankees Cowboys fan. This guy.
All the teams I root for suck. You can't give me any shit.
Yeah, but they used to be really good.
Speaking of the Rangers, I did see that Laviolette was talking about giving Jonathan Quick more reps, just because he's been playing really well and
played really well last year.
He doesn't want Shesterkin to get gassed down the
stretch
because because there's going to be a couple stretches during the season where they're going to play 8 games in 12 days or something crazy like that. And he said, it's just not viable to stick with Shesty for all of those games, and it's going to be important to keep Quick warm and confident in his abilities to just come in and do it. So we're going to start seeing a lot more reps out of him.
Speaking of obnoxious Rangers fans, the last weekend went to the Norfolk Admirals game. Norfolk Admirals are the Jets affiliate, by the way, of the ECHL. So it's basically the Jets AA team, right? They were playing the Islanders AA team, which is the Worcester Railers. And there were several Rangers fans wearing their jerseys, cursing obscenities at the Worcester or Islanders goalie, who was from some country. He probably does not speak any English, but like banging on the glass, like pointing to the Rangers, you suck, like turning around. This guy has no idea what they're saying. And I was like, you know what? That's good. Good.
That's awesome.
There was a fight approximately 3 minutes into us walking into the arena. Just a Donnybrook. This one dude had to be like peeled off by all three of the refs from this guy, and they just tossed him, gave him a game misconduct. It was everything he could have hoped for in a minor league hockey game, except for the beverage prices are just asinine. Like, we're talking...
Really?
Oh, more expensive than any professional game I've ever been to.
What?
In January, it was $18, I believe, for a 12-ounce Busch Light.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
Start sneaking airplane bottles.
Shame on you, Norfolk Admirals.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
You know who has the highest prices from a baseball stadium I've ever seen?
The Nationals.
The Norfolk Tides. Yes. I've never paid more for a drink than... Yeah.
Shame.
So basically, there's two ways to approach these things from a business standpoint. It's one, we decrease prices to draw fans in, or two, we increase prices so the fans who are there, we make as much money off of them as we can. The people who own the Admirals and Tides are the same people. They've taken that mindset.
It's enough to make me never want to go to a game.
Yeah. No,
we start seeing those prices drop, you won't see my credit card. Nope.
I enjoyed being there because I was there with my son, and he loved it. But yeah, but you're either sneaking airplane bottles or you're not drinking. That's what you're doing.
Imagine the special moment you could have had if you bought your son his first beer, but not at those prices.
No, not till you're 15, son. Not till you're 15.
The drinking age is 21. Another stupid government rule.
Yeah.
For shame, Norfolk Tides and Admirals ownership. I can't get over that. That ruined my night.
Yeah. But
speaking of cheap beer,
actually, that's a $20 beer I just opened because we're in the Norfolk area.
You got it in a to-go container from the Admirals game.
Yeah.
That's what we call a premium import, sir.
Yeah.
Dog, that's unreal.
Did I tell you, Kamalo, I was in the Tides clubhouse?
I think you mentioned it to me once.
I got to stand where Gunner and Adley and Jackson were. I threw my water bottle out in the same trash can that Heston Kierstead threw his out in. So I got to see the catcher's gear that Adley used. Right, that's all sitting out just all over the place.
Pretty cool.
I don't know if it was what he used, but it was what the players were using. Was sitting there. Didn't realize this though. The Tides of like all the minor league teams have like one of the smallest staffs, like front office staffs. Like they were saying that there might be like there's only 2 grounds crew people that work for the Tides. But if you go to like the Indianapolis Indians, which is AAA for the for Pirates, they have like 6 to 8 guys who are full-time grounds crew staff.
Really?
Yeah. So like, and I think the Tides drew the most of any AAA team last year, but their staff is like the smallest, which is amazing. God. And when you consider
misers, man, misers of an ownership group. We don't want to have jobs. We don't want to provide beer to the people. Like, get it together. That sounds like stuff. I mean,
that's a military city too. That's really annoying.
Yeah. We
wrote the story. They don't care about our troops.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
On Veterans Day.
Their names are pandering. Their names are pandering.
I did buy a Norfolk Tides Navy SEALs shirt. It's literally a seal, like an or seal with like a military hat on.
I'm glad you
clarify that for the people.
Oh, really? I was thinking it was a wax stamp. Thank you for clearing that up.
Mm-hmm. It's a statute. statute of limitations.
I thought you bought a signet ring with your house crest.
Yes. All right, last thing hockey-wise before we move on, as we digress from our thing. This is for you, Kamlo.
Sure.
Alexander Ovechkin, the Great Eight. He has 10 goals and 8 assists on the year in only 14 games. He has 8 goals in his last 8 games. He now sits at 863 career goals, which is 31 shy of the great one, Wayne Gretzky's all-time record.
So he's on pace to, if he keeps this pace, which we know most players usually don't, but if he keeps this pace, he will break the record April 4th versus the Blackhawks in D.C.
That'd be something.
And the cool thing about like the season he's off to so far, he's playing on the right wing most of the time, which is new.
Really?
He's not in his office?
Power play.
I'm sure he's still in the
power play. He is full strength. He's skating on the right wing, which beginning of the season when I heard it, I talked a lot of crap about it because every so often a coach thinks like, "Oh, I'm really going to shake
I know
things
better.
up.
I'm going to
move Ovechkin from here to the other side of the ice, and
I'm going to be real innovative. This is going to look good for me."
Well, it's working for him, and something cool is I'm sure a lot of Caps fans, you guys might not notice, but Backstrom is still technically part of the team. He hasn't played in well over a year because of his hip issues and back issues, but he's been playing golf with the Capitals' top center, Dylan Strome, and Strome gave an interview to Russian Machine, Never Breaks, and was telling him, we've been golfing, we've been talking about what it's like to be the center for Ovi, and he's kind of taught me a lot about how to be Ovechkin's center, and a lot of people are saying that those talks combined with Strome's offensive prowess is why he has an assist on every single one of Ovechkin's goals so far this season, which is really, really cool.
I think so too. It's I like Carberry as a coach. I think he's a good coach.
I do too.
I think he's got the right temperament and mindset and vision for what the Capitals need. But it would be amazing. I think a couple years ago, Ovi was having a fantastic year, and then his father passed away.
Yeah.
And after his dad passed away, he was mired in the equivalent of a slump for baseball people. He was in a slump for almost a year, and it looked like, okay, this may be it. Because before his dad passed away, we were circling like this year as, he's going to break the record this year, easy, right? And then it looked like maybe not, and maybe we're seeing a rejuvenation, of him. It would be pretty cool if he could do it this year.
He seems like he's been having a lot of fun with it. Like, his kids are getting older. They're getting more I don't want to say involved because obviously they're not involved with the organization, but, they're at every game. And Ovi seems to be having a good time. One more Ovechkin stat, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but for the first time in their entire careers playing against each other, more than about 70 games now playing against each other, the first time happened last week where Ovechkin and Crosby were both named in the top 3 stars of the week by the NHL. First time in the whole time they've been playing against each other happened last week. Isn't that crazy?
That is kind of wild.
Yeah. And considering the careers that they've had and the years that they've had playing against each other, not once have they appeared in the top 3 players of the week for the NHL at the same time.
That's wild,
isn't it? Yeah, I thought that was
first
crazy.
ballot Hall of Famers, 2 of the best to ever play the game.
Who's the better player?
Whose career would you if you were going to start a team let's say in 2000 when they come in 2005?
Knowing what I know now,
what you know now, yeah.
I take Ovechkin because Crosby had a horrific concussion. Remember he missed a season and a half because of his concussions. I would take Ovechkin's. I mean, you can count on at a minimum for the majority of his career 40 goals a season.
Yeah, but there are so many little things that Crosby does.
Oh no, and I would never take anything. As much as I hate Pittsburgh, but I can't take anything away from Sid the Kid. You got to respect the game, but I don't think I would be a Caps fan if I said Crosby.
Yeah,
I'd rather have Stills and Nash. So.
Damn.
Where's
There it is. Oh, hold on. Here it comes. Say it one more time.
I'd rather have Stills and Nash. Thank you.
There we go. Comedic timing as
Or
always.
do you have crickets? Do you have crickets on there?
God damn it, you're late.
D, you bitch.
And then, wait, can I have one more hockey thing before we move on? So, I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, but there's a tournament, the only tournament of its kind for collegiate hockey called the Friendship 4 Hockey Tournament. And it takes place in Belfast, Ireland. And that's coming up on us. I think it's next week. I'll check my dates, but I think it's next week. And it's
Belfast, Northern Ireland.
Yes, and they announced the teams that are playing in it, and it's Notre Dame, Harvard, Boston College, and Merrimack College. It's going to be in Belfast, Ireland, and the trophy, it's called the Bell Pot, and it's just like, it's a big bronzed bell. It's pretty
Don't
sweet,
crack it.
but you know, like, this is something that I think this is like the first time in like recent years that I've seen this tournament actually like marketed and plugged. And I think it's pretty cool that like it's college too, right? So we get to see some of the college kids go play in Belfast.
Has the college season started? Because I know college basketball just started.
Oh, it's been going on. Yeah,
It's been going on. Okay. Because I thought they might have been trying to do like an opening thing, like how college football did, like an opening thing in Dublin.
Yeah.
But okay, I didn't realize this season already started.
Yeah, but I thought that was
games.
pretty cool.
Unless I was watching reruns from last year.
ESPN Classic.
Yeah. Hey, I was watching reruns on ESPN Classic of Mike Tyson last night or 2 nights ago. Yeah.
Was that Chris Chelios with Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Wow, they're going to be good this year.
Look at all these Hall of Famers.
I am a hockey player.
I'll clean up.
Yeah. Anything else NBA, NHL wise before we move on?
No dice.
All right, so that's going to take us to our final segment, which is our favorite segment for this week. Our favorites, as always, are brought to you by One Legacy Title and Escrow in Jacksonville, Florida. Visit them at onelegacyflorida.com to see how they can help you with your next house closing. One Legacy Title and Escrow, because your legacy matters. And our favorites this week, we went with our favorite football throwback jerseys. So thought that was kind of cool, especially now the NFL's kind of relaxed some of their rules. More teams are able to have more jerseys now with the ability to change different helmets, because it used to be able to have the same helmet at all times. So we brought back some of these sweet-ass throwbacks that we were accustomed to seeing. So throwbacks could have been college or NFL. But who wants to start?
I'll go first.
Go for it.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Rochambeau. I like to
You
go.
got it.
I'm going to start. I have one honorable mention this week. I'm going with the Eagles. Kelly Green, the Invincible, New Kids on the Block jerseys.
Nick almost spit his drink out.
We get a spit take here.
Vince Papali.
Like, we had to hold these tryouts because the New Kids on the Block movie. That's not Donovan McNabb. That is Donovan McNabb.
Sprint!
Remember, start your day with an Egg McMuffin from McDonald's. I'm loving it. Moving on.
Hey
From
guys,
the New Kids on the Block.
sunny out here.
I like your cape. All right, moving on.
Yeah, number 5.
Number 5. I'm going with the classic Chargers powder blue. I do like that they move those into their like normal current uniforms now. Number 4, a team that doesn't exist anymore, or change cities. Houston Oilers blue.
Yep, the Tennessee
It's also
Titans.
yes, Tennessee Titans. Correct. Houston Oilers blue, awesome.
But they can't use that. Like, they can't wear a throwback for the Oilers. The NFL owns like the rights to it, and
ridiculous.
they restrict who can use it. Like last year, the University of Houston had jerseys that were kind of similar.
They did,
and they got a letter from the NFL of like, cease and desist. You do this again, we're taking you to court.
And you know what the Houston Cougars did? They wore them again this year,
Let's go.
and they looked really good. And they actually, I believe, they used it when they upset Kansas State.
Let's go.
Which is probably why they won. Number 3, Jacksonville Jaguars original jerseys. Mm-hmm. Those are some of the best. Those are some of the best jerseys ever in the NFL. I absolutely love those ones. I think it's a travesty, a sham, and a mockery. It's a Travis sham mockery that they went to these current ugly jerseys.
Stupid.
Number 2, Patriots red. The Patriot with the actual Patriot snapping the ball. Yeah, the Patriots red I think is awesome with that, with the white helmet, white pants. I love the Patriots red at number 2. Number 1, a jersey that was debuted this year in college. Illinois with the red-green jerseys. The
not where I thought you were going to go with that. Okay.
The ultimate throwback, where they actually had the helmets to look like the old leather helmets of the red-green era. I thought those uniforms, they're either you love them or hate them, and I absolutely loved it.
Did they win or lose that game?
They won.
Okay, then that works. That's all that matters. Kamala?
Honorable mention, I went with the Denver Broncos Orange Crush jerseys.
Ooh,
I believe they wore them Week 5 against the Raiders, and you can see them again Week 18 versus the Chiefs. Yes, that's my honorable mention. I really like that jersey. So, like, you'll see a theme. My jerseys, I think, are either going to be, like, really, really, like, bright and vibrant or elegantly understated. Okay, so honorable mention, Denver Broncos Orange Crush. Number 5, I also went with the 98 Tennessee Titans home jersey, the baby blues. That they wore Week 8. They'll wear Week 8 versus the Falcons, then again Week 15 against the Texans.
You're talking about like the Eddie George, Steve McNair jerseys?
Yeah,
Frank Wycheck.
I believe the helmets have the oil rig on the helmets too.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're pretty cool looking. I saw a picture of it. I did some research for this one. Number 4, this one I believe it's understated, but I think it's a really, really good break from their normal drab jerseys that I'm not a big fan of. I'm going with the New Orleans Saints 1975 away jerseys. They're the like white with the really like distinct gold lettering.
Yes, those are nice.
They'll be wearing those. They didn't have a day where they were going to wear them, but they announced pretty recently that they were going to wear them December 8th versus the Giants. So that'll be a fun one. Number 3, I don't know if you guys would consider this a throwback because the team I don't think lists it as a throwback. It's an era-inspired jersey. It's the Seattle Seahawks 90s inspired jerseys. Very, very bright, like royal blue.
The original Seahawks.
That's the original Seahawks jerseys.
They don't, but that's the thing is that they don't call them. They don't like list them as a throwback. They say 90s inspired. Just like I think the Vikings did that as well with like a 70s inspired.
That means they did some tweak to it.
Exactly.
That was like
it's not the original jersey.
Undetectable, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be the original jersey that's being worn. There is going to be some differences in design. Number 2, Stevie, I'm right there with you. Give me the New England Patriots red shirts, right? I mean, how just iconic.
Beautiful jerseys.
Yeah, beautiful jerseys. I think those, some people would call them vibrant. I think those are pretty understated. There isn't really anything flashy about them. I really, really enjoy, and the fact that it's a New England team makes it even better.
You know what I think about with that jersey is the snow game in 2007 with Brady just chucking the ball all over the field and Randy Moss having like 3 touchdowns.
Yes, and no one thought he was going to be throwing the ball in that game at all.
Yeah.
That was
threw
awesome.
for like 500 yards.
Yeah, so they wore those Week 2 against the Dolphins. We'll see them again Week 13 versus the Chargers.
Nice.
Yeah. And then number 1, it should not be a surprise. I think it's criminal that they've only worn this jersey once and probably won't wear it again the rest of the season. Buccaneers creamsicle. Mm-hmm. Gotta go creamsicle Bucks. They wore them Week 6 versus the Lions, and I don't think we'll see them again, which is just, it's so awful.
Who's the first?
That can't be okay. We need more games in the creamsicle.
Who's the first player you think of with that creamsicle?
Oh gosh, see, I go with all those guys because the Allstott, Warren Sapp.
Allstott's my first guy.
The Allstott and Warren Sapp are the 2 guys I think of wearing it because I think they were the first. And like Work Done, I think
Work
came a little
Done.
later. Derek Brooks might have been a year or two later. Like I don't remember them wearing those. But
the only reason I can think of that they wouldn't wear those jerseys more is because the grounds crew has to probably paint the throwback logo on the
The
field.
throwback
That's
logo is
intensive.
really good.
Yes, that like Three Musketeers looking pirate.
he's a
Like,
Buccaneer. He's a
Yes.
true Buccaneer.
No, Nick. Pirates don't look like that coming off the ship, man. That dude looks like he's straight out of a romance novel. That guy looks like he would rizz up your wife
Hey.
and then take her home. Like that is a suave looking pirate.
I
bro.
live in a pirate town next to where Blackbeard was killed not too far from here.
Princess Anne, I'm
Or was
coming.
captured. Yeah.
I thought he was killed in Charleston or
No, he
I'm
he
the
ran
Jack
aground in
Pirate
the Outer
Roberts.
Banks, and they captured him around here, I believe.
This is the tale
Edward Teach.
of Captain Jack
of Jack
Sparrow,
Sparrow.
No.
Jester of Tortuga.
Giant squid. yeah, anyways, that's my list.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so for my honorable mention, I went with the Houston Oilers only because they don't exist anymore, that there's no like franchise
That's fair.
tied to it. Like we're not going to really see those jerseys again because the Texans aren't going to wear them, the Titans aren't going to wear them. If they still existed, that might be the number one. That's a sweet Warren Moon, sweet ass jersey. Number 5, I went with the blue and yellow LA Rams. Right, so not
Eric
the blue
Dickerson.
and that's the Eric Dickerson Rams. So not your Merlin Olsen blue and white Rams, not your Mark Bulger blue and Mark Bulger from
West by God, baby.
thank you, blue and metallic gold, and definitely not the crap that they wear right now. But
God, their jerseys now are ugly.
but the navy blue and yellow Eric Dickerson Rams jerseys, that helmet, it might be the best helmet ever. It's perfect in my opinion. There's nothing that you could ever change or add to that to make it better. Number 4, I went with the Cowboys Thanksgiving jersey, which is like the one I'm wearing right now, the blue and white and the stars. This really should be the jersey that they wear all the time. Okay, if I move, am I going to blind you some more with the
Hell,
That
he
was
could
more of
sleep
a
on the
stadium.
star.
It was more of a stadium joke than anything. The
Oh,
jersey
okay.
looks really nice. by
Did
the
you ever
way.
think about putting some blinds up in here?
By the way, they do that for concerts.
Yes, they do. They were.
That is
exposed.
not a thing that we just can't do it. No, they have the ability and they've done it before. They just for some reason don't want to do it during a football game.
Jerry
And
Jones is a stubborn ass.
it's one of the funniest things. That
Sorry,
you build
JJ.
This ridiculous
If
stadium.
you're listening,
I'm sure he is. I'm sure you know what he's got top men working on it to grab this clip to disparage us. That's after you disparaged him.
boys.
Yeah.
His name is Tom and he plays in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, his name is Tom.
Yeah, but the Cowboys should go back to these jerseys.
Nice.
They look a lot better than the ones they wear right now. The white helmet, it looks awesome. Number 3 is the Chargers powder blue. Touched on it before. Nice that they brought that back in their normal rotation. But when they first debuted that as a throwback, that was awesome.
Yes.
That was sweet. That
LaDainian Tomlinson in the powder blue.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. Number 2, the original Seahawks. We talked about the combo that original, that lighter blue, lighter green, silver. Love those
are
jerseys.
just so blue. They're so blue.
They should
I
go.
love it.
They should go back to them. The problem is their jerseys they switched to were really good. It was weird at the time. You had the Sean Alexander jerseys, but then they made those little alterations when Russell Wilson came in, and they've had there's no reason to go back because they've had arguably the best jersey. I would still take maybe the Panthers or Bengals or someone, but it's one of the better jerseys in the league since they changed it. So it's why go back? But man, when you're just talking about throwbacks, those original Seahawks, Steve Largent, Jim Zorn, Ricky Waters, Cortez Kennedy, those jerseys are fantastic. And number 1 is the Bucks creamsicle, like Kamala said. That is the ultimate throwback in my opinion. I think because of the stark contrast from what they have now to that. right? Is like
It's
completely
different colors, yeah.
It is a
different.
huge jump. Like,
Right, so it
Like,
makes
how did we
it the
even get
ultimate
here?
throwback. Yeah, and what's amazing about those creamsicle ones, it doesn't make sense how it works. Right, you look at the colors on paper. Even when you look at it at first glance, you're like, what are they doing here? But then you just look at it for a second, you go, man, that's awesome. Why does this work? I know it shouldn't work. Orange and red are our colors. That doesn't make any sense. That goes against all logic and design principles. But it's like, if loving you is wrong, then I don't want to be right. Like Bucks creamsicles,
By the
number
way,
one.
and those fans show out for Retro Jersey Day. It doesn't matter if their team has lost every game of the season leading up to it. Those fans go wild for those jerseys. The analysts go wild for those jerseys. Like,
I go wild. I'll take my shirt off.
I'm pretty
for 'em.
sure this year it was even
Throw me some
marked-
beads.
that game I think was even marked advertised as the creamsicle game this year. Like, people love those jerseys.
Yeah.
By the way, you know what this all made me think of was
Tell me.
our original NFL blanket, the old 90s NFL, it might have been 80s shit. I think the
That's
Oilers were on.
90s. It was
Crusty-ass blanket.
90s. That blanket will keep your ass warm, and they still exist, don't they?
Yes, I need to. Do you have one in your house?
No,
I'm
I
pretty
don't.
sure I have one. Have that blanket. I need to find it. If I can find it, I'll take a picture of it and send it to you for the favorites. But yeah, this whole thing made me think of that.
That should
It's
be
got
like
that original Seahawks logo, and I think the Oilers are on it.
And it
Oh,
smells
the Oilers are
musty as hell.
100% on that.
And the
blanket.
Bengals logo with the actual tiger.
The tiger jumping is
Yeah.
on that, yes. Spent many a day studying the nuances of said blanket.
Don't know
But,
what that
yeah.
means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative. Anything else before we close this debacle off?
Mike Tyson fights Jake Paul on Friday. Knock
Yes.
his ass out, Mike. Tune in live on Netflix. Mike,
I love this
Mike,
part. I love
Mike.
this part.
Yeah. I want an ear bitten and I want a jaw broken. Let's go, Mike.
Oh, you took one from Mike Tyson, man.
He still got it.
It's just a majestic, just regal creature.
Yeah.
Fuck the tiger. Hey man, we're all just stupid
That shit when we
shit when we're drunk. But
Anyways, yeah,
yes,
that's what I got to look forward to.
Yeah, if you have Netflix, I believe it's free for all Netflix subscribers.
Yes, it is. Netflix is the new cable.
Yeah. The question though is, will this fight stay on the service afterwards? Like, can I go back and watch it on Monday?
You could when when they did the Netflix Cup for the golf Formula 1 thing, you could. So I wouldn't be surprised if you could.
All right. Yeah. No, I'm intrigued. I'm here for it. It makes no sense.
No.
But why not?
It's a cash grab.
Oh, it absolutely is. But man, since I don't have to pay any extra for it, I'll watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a part of my subscription, right?
Yep.
I will be clearing my Netflix account of all the moochers just to make sure that I'm the one watching it. Netflix,
believe,
I'm sorry, I still password share.
5:30 p.m. the prelims start. 8 p.m. the main event goes on. Anything else before we move on?
Back here.
That means there's nowhere for him either.
Can't find those Martians on Mars.
No, I got
Thanks,
nothing else,
Rock.
Nick.
Thanks. All right, so that's going to do it for our show tonight. Reminder, follow us on all of our socials at WCME Sport, WCME_sports. It's on X, on Instagram, on Facebook. Visit our website at WCMEsports.com. Our episodes drop every Wednesday at noon.
Sure
For
do.
the boy Stephen Vesci and the man Stephen Comlow, I am the coach Nick Vesci.
Play us
Remember,
out,
as
Comlow.
always, yeah,
Play us out.
be decent to each other. Have a good one, and we will see you next time. Take care, Guatemala.